I beg to move that this House do now adjourn.
The question is, this House do now adjourn. Mr Andrew Pelling.
Mr Deputy Speaker, I am very grateful to you for selecting this matter for debate, a matter of great import, and the first debate of this session on the important issues regarding Sri Lanka. I am also very grateful to the Minister for coming here at the end of this parliamentary session. The last debate that we had was in Westminster Hall, where the member for Enfield North appeared on this very important concern. I am also very grateful for the very large number of members who are here in the House this evening. It wouldn't be normal for the House to be so full at this time, and it being Christmas time, but I am also very grateful to the 32 members who have signed EDM 58 on this important concern. I know also that there are other members who wish to be here but have clashes, particularly the honourable members for Bromley and Chislehurst and the honourable member for Orpington. I do very much regard myself as being here to facilitate all those who wish to be involved in this debate, to the extent that I will be very happy to liberally give way to other members. Many of us have been involved in attending protests on the outside in Parliament Square, and some of us spoke to the 25,000 people who attended at Excel at the Remembrance Day there. I think it's important also that we recognise the very difficult task that Her Majesty's Government has in trying to promote peace and harmony in that troubled isle of Sri Lanka. But I think we very much want to urge the Government to redouble its efforts to ensure that there is good work done there. Mr Deputy Speaker, I am very proud. I am very pleased to give way.
Can I thank the honourable gentleman for giving way, and would he agree with me that what we need is not just a United Kingdom effort, but an international effort that brings together India, which has an important role to play, the United Kingdom for obvious historical reasons, the United States and the UN. Only by that sort of concerted action will we actually get movement.
I'm grateful for that intervention, and I will have a number of questions to pose to the Minister at the end of my speech, and will give way less at the very end. And I think that it's a very important approach. I'll give way to the honourable member.
For giving way. He is being very generous, and this is a very important issue. Would he agree with me that a crucial part of this process must be a permanent UN human rights monitoring mission based in the island that can travel freely without let and hindrance, take up any causes it wishes, and be a monitor of any political agreement and process that is made?
I think that is a very important fundamental point, particularly bearing in mind the way that both the Norwegians and our own representatives have been treated by the authorities in Sri Lanka. I'm very happy to give way to the honourable member.
Does he agree with me that one of the most important things that can happen is the opening of all roads, the allowing for foods to people who are vulnerable? What does anyone want but a roof over their head, safety, and to live their lives in peace and harmony? Is that not something my honourable friend agrees with me we should work towards?
I think it's a very good point that the honourable member gives, and really highlights the problems of some of the issues that have been in terms of the road to Jaffna, and indeed the way in which many people have either been living in starvation or have been living outside because of the way that they have been made into refugees. I very happy to go to the honourable member from Sutton and Cheam.
For introducing this very important debate. Can I just ask him also whether he would agree with me that one of the other things we need is more news coverage, independent and genuine news coverage that genuinely exposes what is going on in Sri Lanka. All too often we don't get that sort of coverage. Would he agree with me that's important as well?
I think that's right, and obviously in conflict sometimes information is used as a weapon. And I've been certainly impressed by what I've seen of the Defence Watch provision, which tries to give some balanced consideration. I'm very happy to give to the honourable member. I'm sorry not to give him waste.
I very much thank the honourable member because he is being so generous with his time. Would he agree that when my colleague from Kingston and Surbiton and I met with 400 Tamil people in our community, and they were able to present evidence from relatives of what was happening in Vani province, that we actually have an immediate crisis, not just the need for a long-term solution, but an immediate solution, particularly to people deprived deprived of even the most basic medical supplies and support from UN agencies.
I very much appreciate that intervention. And I think it also brings me to say that many of us as members of Parliament meet fortunately with so many constituents who found relatives who have been suffering, sometimes in terms of being abducted, indeed have disappeared. So it is something that we all feel very keenly, I think, as members of Parliament. I'm so sorry to have given way before.
The Honourable Gentleman may not be aware that this afternoon there was an extensive debate on the Foreign Affairs Committee report on human rights, and the issue of human rights in Sri Lanka featured very greatly in that debate. And I would draw attention to the fact that in Sri Lanka it has one of the worst records for the question of press freedom. And I think this is one of the real problems that we have in trying to discuss issues related to Sri Lanka. It was simply find it very difficult to get proper information about the abuses of human rights that are going on there.
I'm very grateful to the Honourable Member attending this debate, bearing in mind that there was that other debate which only finished at 5:30. And it's very important, I think, to highlight the way in which it was given such important consideration by this House that it should be so high up the agenda in that other debate in Westminster Hall. Because I think the Honourable Member is exactly right. Quite often, in terms of the debate, we see a situation where there's a great deal of intimidation of journalists within Sri Lanka. But more importantly, the way in which the debate becomes debased by the fact that anyone who dares to give any consideration to the issue of the prospects of genocide within Sri Lanka, that they are described as being a terrorist. And honourable members will know that I have myself been decried as apparently having fallen into the hands of terrorists for even daring to raise the issue. I give way to the honourable.
I'm most grateful to the honourable gentleman, and I deplore the attacks that have been made on him and other honourable members of this House just because they've raised this matter in the House. Isn't there now a case for looking at the prescription issue and perhaps doing what has happened with the People's Mujahideen, which is to partially raise the ban in this country, in that it, not to stop a condemnation of terrorism, of course, which we all do, but for the British citizens, the British Tamil citizens, who are here and who wish to raise issues of concern on humanitarian and social issues, who face a lot of harassment. He mentioned the Excel Centre. There were 12 counter-terrorism police officers at that centre simply because the ban exists. Is there not a case for partially raising this ban?
It is, of course, a very great privilege to give way to the Chairman of the Home Affairs Select Committee, who will know these issues so well. I think that we do condemn terrorism, and we recognise that the conflict in Sri Lanka is one of evil, where the antagonism on both sides has led to appalling atrocities. But what is wrong is to have a government that thinks it is appropriate to be waging war on its own people. So we must be sensitive to the issues that the Honourable Member raises, because it is important that we give enough exception for there to be humanitarian activity and for there to be political activity. Because I would guess at the end of this discussion and this debate, we will come to the view that it is right to support Her Majesty's Government's approach, that it is a political dialogue that should take place and not one of continuing to wage war. And just to give one more point, I think there must also be an issue that arises from the Honourable Member's intervention, and that is this. We must be cautious of the role that the High Commission plays here in London in terms of forcing some banks to close accounts that might well be being properly used for humanitarian efforts. And I give way to the Honourable.
I'm really grateful the Honourable Gentleman has touched many of the issues that concern us all, and many people who are tarred with the allegation that they are somehow supporting terrorists because they support their constituents and the wider community who want to speak out on issues of huge concern to them. Given the urgency of the issues now in Sri Lanka and the long-term problem that's not been resolved, will the Honourable Gentleman agree with me that one of the things that the British Government might consider doing is seeking to persuade the Commonwealth as an organisation, as well as the UN, and those other countries outside the EU and the States who haven't taken a view on prescription to come together early in the new year to seek an initiative with the government of Sri Lanka, whatever happens militarily between now and then, because they might say the military conclusion will be sufficient, but clearly the issues will not change even if there's military progress made by the government.
Well, I think, Mr Deputy Speaker, that was an intervention that I would have expected from the Honourable Member. because it proposes very practical ways of Her Majesty's Government showing leadership on this issue with partnership in it with others. And I think we will very much look forward to the response from the Minister as to how that response might be made. I will make one brief local